Hi everybody, what? Hey everybody, how's it going? My name is Kerry Holzman. Welcome into the latest live stream. And let's just make sure everybody can see and hear me okay. So just give me a little something in the chat room to let me know. Joseph Neal says, all good. All right, thank you, Joseph. So today I've got to fix this EVGA GTX 1080 Ti. Normally I wouldn't even attempt to fix this. It's a brand new card. The problem is when those of you who saw the build know what the problem is, but when the card is installed, and of course it installs this way, this fan right here is making noise. So if I spin it, oh, you can actually hear it right now. What's happening is there's a little cable and it's running in a track behind these fans. And the cable has a little slack on it, and so when it's upside down, the cable hangs down and it's hitting the back of the fan. So it's easy enough to repair if I can get it open. There are some strange little bits that are required, which you can see if the camera will focus. Right there is a very small, I don't know if it's Torx or what it is. So this may be a real short live stream if I don't have the tools to open this up. And I do have an RMA for it. The manufacturer did approve an RMA, and then we had to wait a couple days because they were sending us a free shipping label. That's first class. That's, again, just re-emphasizes why I like to use EVGA. The problem is this build has been going on for so many weeks now that further delaying it isn't preferable. So we're going to see if we can fix it here, and so I can get the build finished and get it off to the customer. Normally I wouldn't even do this. Normally, like if a customer called me and said I had a noisy fan on my CPU, that's not something I would fix. I've never disassembled one of these graphics cards, well, not a 1080 Ti anyway. And usually when I disassemble graphics cards, it's because they're old and obsolete, and I just take them apart just because I enjoy taking things apart. It's the putting them back together again that I seem to struggle with. This should not void the warranty at all with regards to EVGA. I did speak to them on the phone. And for example, on the first 1080 Ti's they came out with, they had thermal issues, and you could get a thermal pad, and basically it was a kit that you could do yourself, and if you failed it, they would still accept it back under warranty. I think this still applies. I think we'll be okay. And yeah, it's a brand new card, brand new out of the box, that's doing that. And I don't know how well the camera could pick up that cable that it's running right along just the very first, there's like a cutout in the heatsink, and it runs the entire length of the heatsink. And I don't know why they did that. You know, I would have thought they would have put a little metal lip or something at certain points of the heatsink to make sure the cable couldn't fall through. So I don't know what the deal is, but just looking here at some of the chat comments here. So, wow, we already have 341 people tuning in, so apparently this was a good time to get started. I've got a security bit set here that I'm hoping will have the bit size I need. Ooh, that's a little tiny one. Is that right? No, that's even too big. Wow. I may not be able to open this up. I may have to send it in, but I really wanted to give it a shot. I don't know what size that is. Well, that's the smallest one I got. It seems to fit. This is a can't read it. .5 Torx bit is what it looks like. 1.5. That's pretty tiny, pretty minuscule. And Yeah, I mean, it should be an easy repair. It's just a problem of whether or not I have the right tools to get it open. Well, that's going to be real easy to lose. Just set that right there. Got 2 on the back side. Yeah, with all of the cryptocurrency mining going on, these cards have really gone up in value. I think this was a $750 card. I don't know what it goes for today. Significantly more than that, I assume. Although Bitcoin took a big drop. I think it took a 20% drop yesterday. I don't know where it's at today. I don't know if it's recovered or not. It's not stuff I deal with, so not my problem. Okay, there does appear to be something else holding it in. Bitcoin's just over 10K, so it lost almost half its value if that's the case. I know this I know this EVGA logo comes off. I'm not sure how. I know who knows is my buddy over at Mirko Mods. He takes these things apart and paints them and puts them back together again all the time. But he's a bit braver than me when it comes to that. Of course, he's not dealing with any customer systems either. He's just building systems for fun and then selling them when he's done. So if he screws it up, you know, there's nobody to answer to. There is a screw that appears to be right in there. I'm not sure how you're supposed to get to it, though. That's probably the last one that's holding it on, though. How am I going to get that off? I might have to actually disassemble the entire card to get to that one screw from what I'm looking at. I might have to remove the heat sink from the circuit board, which would require moving the back plate, which is not really what I want to do if I can avoid it. Let's see here. Is there any way for me to get to that elegantly? You know, I see it. It's right there. But can I get to it? Really don't want to remove it from the heat. I don't want to remove the heat sink, but I might have to. You know, ideally, the part I need to get into is right here. And ideally, I would just be able to kind of bend it back and pull the cable through. I need a way to just tighten the cable up so it's not loose anymore, so that it can't drop down. And this cable is running all the way down the entire length, and it's drooping right here. And it's just interesting to me that it doesn't seem that NVIDIA has done anything. Did I say NVIDIA? I mean EVGA. Oh, they put a little, you know what? There's a small wire tie, nylon zip tie here. And it may be that nylon zip tie is just too loose. It may be that it just hasn't been tightened. But even for me to replace that nylon zip tie, I still have to remove this cover. So the advantage, of course, sending it back to EVGA is that I don't have to mess with it. Oh, I'm sure there are YouTube videos that show how to disassemble this, but I was just hoping to do it live and see if I could. Like I say, this normally wouldn't even be a job I would take on if somebody had called me with this problem and said, could you fix this? Say, sorry, I don't do that. There's probably a way for me to do a more surgical style removal here. Oh, this is interesting. It does look like there may be a place for this cable to go in. Maybe not. It's so hard to see with this cover on, and I can't get this cover off without removing this one last screw. And this one last screw is in a position that requires the whole heatsink be removed from the circuit board for me to access it, which just stinks. I'm going to try something else. I've got a little dental pick set that Harbor Freight Tool sells, and it may come in handy for just this occasion. Let's see. I know I've got that set here somewhere. There it is. There it is. Okay. I will say in all my years of fixing computers, I've never had to do this before. I've never had a situation where a video card fan cable was hitting the fan. This is something new. I see Brytech is out there. Hey, Brian. Welcome into the chat. All right, let's see if we can get this little cable that's dropping into our fan. Brand new GTX 1080ti from the factory. And the little cable that runs the entire length of this heatsink is just not tight enough, and it's dropping into the fan. Is there any way for me... Okay, there's all the slack. Well, apparently it is running underneath a little lip here, but it's just not tight enough. It's got a lot of play in it. So bizarre. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to have much choice on this one. I think the whole thing has to come apart. And I don't want to take it apart. I don't know which choice I have, though. This is certainly not my area of expertise, but got to always move forward and do what needs to be done. That's the difference, like I say, when you're working for a customer versus working for yourself. You have to do it. I don't know what else is holding it in. It looks like there's a couple of screws here on the end. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, there's a lot of screws holding it in. Rats, I really didn't want to do this. I didn't want to do it. I'm not happy. So a lot of people think, you know, the technical job is fun, and it can be fun, don't get me wrong, but then there's sometimes things, look, in any job you've got to do, there's got to be some parts you're not going to like doing. And for me, this kind of stuff is very time consuming. I mean, look, this thing has a little tiny nut on the end of it. Really? You'll see what I'm doing when I take the screws out as I'm laying them down in order of how they were removed on this back plate, because that one particular one has a nut on it, but I think it's the same. Oh, I do see a warranty void sticker right here that I have to take off. I am getting nervous about this. You know, the problem is in EVGA. Every company makes a product that's bad for whatever reason. The difference is in how the company responds to you when you have a problem. And EVGA is right there saying, hey, we got your back, don't worry about it. Here's an RMA, send it in. I was hoping when I started this video I would be able to simply remove the top and fix that cable. I mean, I'm so close to removing it. There's just one screw left. And maybe if I can bring this up, you can actually see the cable now. If I bring this up to the camera, if the camera will focus. And if you look very carefully, you'll see this cable right where my finger is. And it's supposed to be in a little groove, in a little track, and it runs the entire length of that heatsink. And you see how it's, the slack, it's kind of bubbled up, or it's just drooping. And so the fan is hitting it. And that's what the noise is. It's not a coil whine or anything like that. It's just that little cable. It should be a pretty easy fix. It just kills me to have to send it in for something so simple. The issue is this isn't my graphics card. This card belongs to a customer. And if I remove this warranty void sticker, I don't know what's going to happen. Maybe nothing, maybe something, but I'll be held accountable and it will be my cost to replace it. So do you fix the card yourself so the customer can have the system sooner, risking voiding warranty or potential warranty issues in the future that you'll be held accountable for, potentially being your responsibility to buy the customer a new card if something should happen while it's under warranty in the future? Or do you make the customer wait another 2 weeks as this gets sent back to EVGA and say, sorry, nothing else I can do? That is the tough call. Because until I started taking it apart right now, I just assumed I could just pull this cover off, this top. I thought that would just come right off. But there's just one screw. There's 4 screws that hold it on. And there's one right down in here that this cover's in the way of. So the whole circuit board is over. It's over where I need to be. And I can't get anything in that tight little spot. I wish they had a hole through here so you could just put a screwdriver through there. but they don't do that for you. Now, one of the ways I can silence the fan is simply tighten the cable up. You know, if I take this tool and I pull the cable so it's tight, it's nice and quiet, but there's nothing to stop the cable from drooping back down again. So when this gets boxed up and shipped, you know, 1,000 miles away, it's going to get bounced around a lot. It's probably going to cause that cable to droop again, and then the customer's going to get it, and they're going to say, how come my brand new computer that I waited all this time for has this really annoying sound? These are all the things that have to be taken into consideration. I think EVGA will stand behind it. I think they will. Maybe we should call EVGA live on camera. What do you think? See what EVGA has to say. I need to look up EVGA's number. All right, let's just call EVGA. Let's see what EVGA says.
Thank you for calling EVGA, your online VGA community. All calls may be monitored or recorded for quality and training purposes. If you know your party's extension, you may dial it at any time. Press 1 for technical support, 2 for customer service, 3 for sales. You have reached EVGA's 24-hour technical support. We have recently updated our menus, so please listen carefully and select the option that best fits your need. All calls may be monitored or recorded for quality and training purposes. Press 1 for help with an EVGA graphics card. 2 for an EVGA. If your product is registered with EVGA and you do have your serial number or ticket number ready, please press 1 now. Otherwise, please stay on the line for the next available representative.
Let's see how long our hold time is. So again, you can save money and buy a card from a different manufacturer, but you may never be able to get a hold of them. Or it could take forever. This is already going through, which wasn't much of a wait at all. Hi, my name is Kerry Holzman. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, how can I assist you today?
I've got a brand new GTX 1080 Ti that when I install it, the fan that's closest to where the video ports are is noisy, and it appears, now that I've really taken some time to look at it, I called previously and got an RMA, and I was about ready to send it in for an RMA until I realized what's causing the problem. If you're familiar with the card, there's a black power cable that runs the length of the heatsink in a little track, and when I put the card in the computer, like if the card is with the fans facing up and holding it in my hands, gravity, of course, is pushing that cable down in the track and the fan is completely silent. But when the card is installed in the PC, that little cable, the gravity, causes it to droop and it hits the back of the fan. And I thought it should be a pretty easy fix to just open it up and tighten that cable down with a nylon zip tie or something, rather than...
There should be some clips on there. The only way that can happen is if it's shaken loose, or maybe in shipping, the cable is loose, so there should be small cable clips there that you just push the cable back down and it should clip everything back in.
Well, so part of the problem is my view is obstructed by the top plastic shroud around the fans, and I tried to remove that, and it's got appears to be 4 screws that are 1.5 Torx bits, and the 4th screw is in a position that requires the circuit board be removed to access it. So I can't remove that black shroud, and therefore I cannot see, because I'm looking at the track and I don't see anything holding this cable in except at one end and the other end. I don't see anything in the middle. Just there's nothing there. It's just seems to be a track running through the heatsink. So if there is something that's supposed to be holding it in, it's gone, or I don't see it.
Yeah, you probably won't be able to see on the shroud. Which 1080 Ti do you have? The FTW?
That's a good question. It's the part number. Maybe I can give you the part number.
The last 4 digits.
It looks like 6383 KR.
Okay. 6383? Or 6388?
Yeah, that could be it too. 6388-KR.
A hybrid card or just a, does it have water cooling in it?
No. It's just an air-cooled card, standard GTX 1080 Ti.
Is it a 3-fan or a 2-fan?
2-fan.
Okay, got it. 659. Okay, got it.
My concern is, it seems like I could take it apart, but there's a warranty sticker, and I don't want to break that. But I have a customer waiting for this, and the customer's already been waiting like 8 weeks. So to send this back to you guys, like I said, we've got an RMA.
That wouldn't void the warranty. That just lets our RMA department know that it's been opened, so they'll take a further look and inspect the card a little bit further before continuing forward towards RMA. But we wouldn't void the warranty over that.
Good.
Once again, that sticker is just there because there's a lot of people who wants to do regular maintenance on the card, which requires to remove the card and repaste thermal compound on it and everything like that. So that doesn't void the warranty.
Okay. So you're saying if I do go ahead and disassemble this and remove the shroud, I should see that there are
there should be a place for the cables to go.
Something that holds that cable down. Because I can't fathom where that would be. Like I said, when I'm looking at the heatsink, I see there is a nylon zip tie at the back end of the card. And I do see a metal hook that's part of the heatsink that the cable's wrapping around for the fan closest to the rear of the card. But I don't see that equal on the front. What I see, well, I'll take it back. There is a hook, and the cable wraps around that little metal hook. But I don't see anything between the two other than a track.
Yeah, I have a graphics card in front of me, so give me 1 second. I'm gonna go grab it, okay?
Sure. I have an idea. I'll wait for him to come back. He's got a schematic of the card and the way the wiring layout is, so he can describe it to me. And he's looking that up right now, but I think I have a better idea. We'll see when he comes back. I can't really use any glue or hot melt glue because the heat sink will melt that. So I'm looking for a permanent fix. So it really needs something like a nylon zip tie to hold it in place, or the cable needs to be rerouted, or the cable is just physically too long and it has to be shortened. Which obviously I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't cut the cable and shorten it. I would find a way to tighten it up and then hold that in position with a nylon zip tie. We don't, these graphics cards under heavy use can easily exceed 100 degrees Celsius, and that'll melt any any hot melt glue. Are you back?
Yeah, I do apologize about the inconvenience of putting you on hold there. It seems like you are correct. I took a look into the RMA itself. The graphics card itself.
Yeah.
And it looks like there's no physical track that runs through it, but the cables run along the heatsink. So along the top side of the heatsink.
Well, the heatsink has fins, and then there's what I'm calling a track is the fins stop. Then the cable runs through this space, this gap, and then the fins start again. So that's what I'm referring to as a. In fact, you've got access to the internet in front of you right now. So I can show you this. I'm live right now on YouTube, and I can show this to you if you pull up the YouTube. I'll bring it right up to the camera, and you can see it. Would that be beneficial?
I could try. I'm not too sure how well my VM is going to perform, but go ahead and give me that live channel or the URL.
You'll go to gaming.youtube.com /C/Carey Holzman. So my name is CAREYHOLZMAN /live. And that you should see me holding a phone talking to you.
Okay, give me 1 second here.
Sure.
Hello, EVGA guy. Hi, Steve.
I guess you're seeing it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so I'm going to bring this up to the camera. I don't think I can hold the phone and do this at the same time, so I'm going to sound a distance away. Okay, so here on the card, I've got to switch my view because I'm getting a delayed view. Sorry, it's a little hokey, but I think it'll be a really effective means for me to show you this. So I've removed the two screws here, and this is the front fan. And if you look, if the camera will focus, there, we're getting there. Can you see the cable? It's rising up over the heatsink. Right over. So what's happening, like if I spin this fan right now, can you hear it? It's hitting the cable, which runs along this track. Where is it? It's really hard to see, but there's a track. It's got to be. See, everything's backwards to me when I'm doing this on the camera, so it's a little difficult. But there's a track running the entire length, and there is a nylon zip tie holding this cable in on this end, but there isn't one on this end, and so the cable, it just falls out of that track. And so when I was checking the card this way, the fan was completely silent. But when I'm checking the fan, when it's installed, that's when the cable's dropping. And I've removed, there's a screw here that I've removed, and the two on the other side. But this screw that's right, come on. This one right down here. There's no way for me to get to that because it's on an angle from I'd have to take the whole back plate off, I have to take circuit board off, I got to separate it from the thermal pads. I don't know how wise that is. I'm trying to figure out what I should do here. I'm looking for some guidance.
Okay. I definitely understand. You can definitely move at the warranty void if remove sticker. That's definitely fine.
Okay.
My suggestion would be to reposition the cables. Is the way I see the cables on our actual graphics card up here, is that the actual cable itself is running around the heatsink towards the outside, because there's supposed to be in the channel like another set of heat sinks, like the thing split up.
Oh, is it two heat sinks? It looks like one. It looks like, okay, it may be.
Well, the thin design on it splits a little, so you put the cable through that. But you're more than welcome to take the card apart. It's not going to void your warranty unless you cause physical damages. But
No issue with thermal pads. If I remove it and put it back on, I'm not somehow affecting the cooling property of the card?
it shouldn't, no.
Okay. All right, so, but I basically, if I'm correct, I have to remove everything. I can take the back plate off. I got to separate the heat sink from the thermal pads just so I can remove the fan shroud so I can get to the wire.
Correct.
Wow. Okay, well, at least I know that as long as when my customer gets the card, if he has any problems with it in the future, we're not going to have any warranty issues. That was my main concern.
Yeah, so you wouldn't have any warranty issues. Just have them register the product, and then for any reason the card fails, have them contact us, and we'll definitely assist them with that.
Great. All right, well, listen, thanks so much for your help. I really appreciate it.
Okay, no problem.
All right, bye. Okay, so again, there's a reason why I buy from EVGA, and it's for that support. The likelihood that you need that support it's highly unlikely, but the fact is that when you do need it, EVGA, time and time again, has proven to me that they always stand behind their products. I like that when I talk to somebody, I'm speaking to a fellow American with an American accent, and so they're not difficult to understand. You know, when you're calling support and you're already frustrated, it's just salt to the wound when you can't understand somebody who's supposed to be helping you. So, anyway, I guess I can continue boldly and see if I can address this problem. So let's see, we've removed these screws here. Now I've got to remove this one that's hidden, which is going to require me to remove this sticker. And I feel better also having that on tape, so if anything ever happens in the future, and not that I think it ever would, but just have a little insurance that I've got it on tape. EVGA said it was okay, so my customer can rest easy. So like I said, you can buy cheaper graphics cards from other manufacturers, but are you going to get that kind of support? In my experience, that kind of support is hard to come by. So if the EVGA card costs, $10 more, it is $10 worth of insurance. And I'm running a business, and if you want to gamble with your own investments, it's your business, but I can't gamble with my business, or I likely won't have a business. I'm not willing to take that risk. So that one comes out. Wow, there's so many little screws on this thing. Move those up there. I'm going to go across the top. Oops. I would love to be a screw salesman for EVGA. They're very thorough. Wow, it's a lot of screws. Something very simple turns into a pretty big job. I think that's the last one. I hope it's the last one. How many is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23 screws I've had to remove so far. Did I get them all? Feels like there's another one back here. Can't tell. Maybe just the thermal pads that are holding it on. Oh, it comes off in halves. That's interesting. So there's one half. And there's the other, oops, there's the other half right there. Sponge. Okay. There we go. Is anything holding it on now? Oh, there's a couple of screws up on top here. I don't want to put that down on the thermal pad, Carrie. I think what I need to do is I can leave this back plate on. I don't think I actually had to remove the back plate. I think I just had to remove the screws. May not even have had to have done that. Let's see. Okay, I can't get to these without taking the shroud off. I can't get the shroud off without... There's a certain order this has to come apart. It looks like the way you get to the screws that hold the heatsink on is by removing the fan shroud. And the way you remove the fan shroud, well, let's see who that is. Don't know who that is. I'm not sure. All this because of a loose cable. Like I said, this isn't a dig on EVGA. Every company has a bad product. It always happens. The question is how they respond. And yeah, I don't know. This is a bit of a puzzle for me, if you couldn't tell.
Enter your password. 1. New message. 2. Saved messages.
Oh, it is EVGA calling me back.
Different cars. Hey, Carrie, this is Thomas. I'm just calling you back in regard to the way the cable is. I believe we might be looking at the same card. Different card here. I was looking at an 1080ti model. I think you're referring to an 1080ti.
I said 1080 Ti.
Layout slightly, but shouldn't have an issue there. So you contact us back at 1-888-881-3842. Thank you. Bye-bye.
To replay, press 4. Message saved.
Yeah. So that was EVGA just saying he was looking at a different card. He thinks I have a 1080 Ti. I told him I had a 1080 Ti. This is Kerry.
Here, Terry, I'm a snowbird out in Sunflower Park.
Yes.
I am also experiencing some significant computer problems, and I guess I'm going to need somebody like you to help figure it out. I've got a new laptop, which I just purchased over Christmas, and a friend of mine got things set up for me with Gmail, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And with me, and it's been working okay, except all of a sudden the screen is just blanked out on me. I used it this morning, went golfing, came back, and the screen was dark. Turned everything on, I get a white screen, but no image. So I called a friend of mine back in Iowa, and he, using Teams Viewer, he could look into my laptop and see the normal screen and everything else. But I'm not seeing it here. So he's thinking it must be a hardware problem of some kind with the laptop. That sort of thing you would be able to try to analyze?
Well, unfortunately, with laptops, all the manufacturers use their own custom parts. Apart from a hard drive and RAM, you're sort of tied to the manufacturer with regards to part availability and pricing. And it can be very discouraging unless you're like an authorized repair person that gets the parts at a wholesale price or something to do the work with the labor and the part. Sometimes the customers are like, geez, I could have bought a new laptop for that much money. If the laptop is under warranty, I would suggest taking it to contacting the manufacturer. If the laptop is out of warranty, you could simply plug a monitor externally into it, like a regular desktop monitor, to get you by. Or you could certainly contact other places to get prices on laptop screen repair. It's not something I do, though.
Okay, well, I was hoping you'd say yes.
Well, listen,
Yeah,
I'm a terrible businessman in that. What's that?
Sorry. Well, I was going to say I bought this on eBay, and I think it's made in China. So I don't know what kind of a chain I need to go through to even get back to, the original manufacturer.
There's a guy I know that's been fixing laptops for probably 20 years. His name is Troy, and he's with a company called SPSI. And I'm just afraid I'm afraid you're gonna spend as much or more than what you paid for the laptop. That's my concern. But I mean, that's your decision to make. Let me give you his number. You can call him, because at least I can confidently say this guy knows what he's doing. He's been taking apart and repairing laptops for many years, a couple of decades, and there's not too many people in the business that long. And let me see if I can pull his number up here for you.
Okay. He's around here locally, right?
I think he's out in Tempe, but you'd have to. These are questions for him.
Okay.
And I'm assuming he's still in business. I'm having a hard time locating him, which is not a good sign. He used to have a shop over on I-17 in Dunlap, and then that shop closed up, and he started working, I think, out of his home. So I don't know what the situation is now, but I'll give you the last number I have for him.
Okay.
And it's 602-997.
602-997.
7335.
7335. And what is his name?
His name is Troy.
Troy, okay.
And,
All right.
I'm just a little worried because the website that he used doesn't seem to be working anymore. So I don't know if he's still in business or not. But he's...
All I can do is try it, yes, and see what happens.
Yeah, otherwise,
Okay.
the benefit of getting a new laptop is, of course, you won't have to wait for the repair. You won't have to worry if it's fixed right. You don't have to worry about what your warranty is. A brand new laptop, you get fixed, nothing needs to be fixed. You're ready to go immediately with a full warranty, a brand new battery, and probably better performance. So if that laptop is, more than 2 or 3 years old, I would seriously consider replacing it.
No, the laptop is brand new.
Well, if it's brand new, then I would consider sending it back to the seller.
Yeah, but I think maybe I'm going to have to bite the bullet and buy a new laptop in the interim just to get something going. Now, the problem I have is trying to get my data off of my PC back home. Well, I guess that's the problem, getting loaded onto the laptop out here in Arizona. I don't know if you can do that all through TeamViewer or not.
Yeah, with TeamViewer, someone should be able to copy the data. It'd be slow, but they could be able. They could certainly do it. Or the laptop hard drive could be removed and plugged into a USB port. That's no problem at all.
Yeah.
But this is the problem that I run into time and time and time again, where people are looking to save money. They buy from an unknown source. They buy on eBay. They buy on these sites. They have a problem, and instead of calling the person who necessarily profited from it, they end up calling me, and then I have to give them all the bad news. I don't like I don't like doing that. I want to be able to say I can help you, but unfortunately, you know, there is some benefit to buying from a known manufacturer for that peace of mind that if there is a problem, you know, that you have a source to go to.
The reason I bought this one is this friend was helping me, and you know, he's just got his master's degree in computer science from Iowa, so he's been working with computers for years. And he has this particular brand. He's had it for years and years and years, and he beats the heck out of it because he's on it all the time. So, based on his experience, you know, it seemed like this was a good brand.
Yeah, but then you're not calling him for help.
Well, I am, but he's kind of beyond him.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? But you understand what I'm saying. I mean, there's a... look, my joke is, here's my joke. My joke is people with the best of intentions have basically paid for my car.
Okay.
It doesn't mean he's a bad guy. He had the best of intentions, but when you spent your hard-earned money and then you had a problem, he can't help you. So he shouldn't have been recommending anything. That's me as a businessman speaking. So I would advise you to, you know, as a business person, to buy something from a known manufacturer so you won't have to ever deal with this again, unless it's worth the gamble to you, because you can save a lot of money if the gamble pays off. You know, I can go to the casino and maybe walk out with more money than I came in with, maybe. That doesn't, I don't run my business that way, so I would never advise people to do that. But, you know, if you work with a good seller on eBay, they should find some means to correct, you know, to find an amicable solution.
Yeah. Okay.
But in the meantime, like I said, in the meantime, it sounds like if you have a spare monitor lying around, you could at least plug the monitor into the back of the laptop and then view it that way.
I have an iPad and a Kindle with me, but I don't have any spare monitors or anything of that nature, you know, because we're just out here for 3 months.
Right,
so,
right.
I didn't anticipate, you know, this kind of a situation, of course.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I appreciate your time and this name and phone number. I might see if I can get a hold of them just to talk about it, but probably I'll end up doing what you suggested, either biting the bullet until I get back home, or buying a laptop out here. And we have a laptop, so it was transportable out here. I used to rely on an iPad all the time, and I thought an upgrade to a laptop would make life a lot easier, but so far, that's not true.
Well, it's, you know, again, if you said I'm tired of walking, so I'm going to buy a car, and then you went on eBay and bought a car or Craigslist, and it has nothing but problems and it never starts or runs reliably, versus if you went to a car dealer and bought a car with a warranty, you'd have completely different experiences that would affect whether or not you say it was useful to you or not. I think, like I said, I would never do what you did. I would never do it. It's too much of a risk for me. It's too much of a gamble. I need a safety net. I need to know if anything goes wrong, that the investment that I made is going to be backed up, at least for a minimum period of time, whether it's 1 year or 2 years, whatever the warranty is. At least I have peace of mind that I'm good for that period of time, no matter what happens.
Yeah.
So that's...
I have one thing to say beforehand. If it works out okay, but you say you're already taking a risk. And,
yeah, it's a gamble.
Get times the cards get turned up favorably for me, so that's what I do.
And you can there might be a neighbor or somebody that's got a spare monitor laying around you might be able to borrow. You can pick them up cheap now too.
Yeah. I do have another quick question for you. I'm the guy who was asking questions about malware bites and that kind of stuff when you were here last week.
Yeah.
So I checked when I got back to my unit here, and I found I was using the free version of Malwarebytes.
Mm-hmm.
So I sent them to purchase and install the premium version.
Right.
Both on the laptop now in jeopardy, and also on my PC back home in that routine viewer. But I think you said that once I get that installed, I can get rid of my AVG software.
Yes.
Antivirus. But I'm trying to see on the Malwarebytes, Terry, where it's actually doing antivirus checking. I'm looking for something that says we run that kind of a check. Is it something that didn't happen to the guys and everything else? I haven't got rid of OVG yet, and I just was a little hesitant to do that. I wanted to make sure that Malwarebytes was covered.
What version of Windows are you running?
10.
So Windows 10 has Windows Defender, which is an antivirus that works as well as or better than AVG. And combined with Malwarebytes, see, the Windows Defender won't come on if it sees you've got a different antivirus installed. Once you remove AVG, then Windows Defender should come on. If not, you can turn it on. But it should come on automatically. And that's going to provide you with...
I thought I had them both running, to be honest with you, because I know our Defender every once in a while will pop up, and I need to get permission from Defender to do something that I want to do.
Well, that may be the firewall, but regardless of that, only 7% of infections are actually viruses these days. 93% of infections are caused by malware. So malware is your main focus. And then as long as you have Windows Defender running, you don't need AVG with Malwarebytes Premium.
Okay.
And then you should notice your computer was a little bit more responsive. It'll run a little bit faster without that AVG on there.
I'll tell you, the one at home is a dog. It's really slow.
Well, yeah, this stuff will do that. This antivirus, these programs will just bog them right down.
See, now I can't even get at it because I can't just get at it through the laptop. But I could probably have my friend check that out. Okay, well, I think I've taken up enough of your time here today, but I do appreciate it.
Yeah,
and,
I'm sorry I didn't have better answers for you.
Me too.
Well, good luck with it.
All right, very good.
All right.
Good job.
Thank you. Thanks. Bye-bye. So there's a real-world example of the type of phone calls that I get. This is a senior, lives in Arizona for a few months out of the year, bought a laptop on eBay to save money. He's only had the laptop a couple of weeks, I guess he said, and now the screen goes white. He can't see it, but his friend can log into a TeamViewer and see it fine. He's obviously got some kind of a display issue there. I told him he can plug in an external monitor. He doesn't have one. He's only got like a tablet, an iPad, so that's not going to help him. And now he's looking to pay somebody to fix something he just purchased. Now I couldn't make that happen. This is all live. So I talk about gambling, why I choose the parts manufacturers that I choose. Here I'm emphasizing why it's worth paying a little tiny bit more for a name brand manufacturer who's going to stand behind their product. And then like clockwork, this guy calls, never heard of this guy. He's never been a customer of mine. He's telling me he bought from an unknown seller, a no-name brand laptop, comes out of China from eBay. He's got a problem with it. Now he's looking to pay somebody to get it fixed. He's having a hard time finding somebody who can do it. That's why he was saying he was hoping I would have said yes, that I could do it for him. I'd certainly like to make money, but that just sucks. That absolutely sucks to buy something brand new and then have to pay to have it fixed, let alone find somebody who can fix it. Somebody who's going to be able to get the parts. So, yeah, it is, it's tough, because to send anything back to China from the U.S. is extraordinarily expensive. Look in the video port grill and you'll see another screw. Nope. Oh, well, there's a couple of screws that look like they're holding the the ports onto the back plate, but I'm not even that far yet. I've got to be able to get the top, the shroud isn't being held down in the front, it's being held down in the back, because it'll just slide off this way. So I'm not worried about this front. It's not connected, as far as I can tell, it's not connected to this at all. This back plate should be able to stay on for what I need to do, from what I can see, unless the DVI port may be part of this heatsink. It's hard to tell, in which case those screws would have to come off. But I'm not that far into it yet, and I'm starting to get a little bit nervous about taking it any further at this point. Saying there's an Acer laptop available on Walmart's website for $289. Yeah. Somebody said Brytech had something to say. Well, Brytech, please repeat it, because I don't see anything from you. Is this the 1080 from a month ago? This is the 1080 from 2 months ago. These parts were purchased back in November. So trying to share as many of the processes of repairs and builds with you. I can't share them all with you, or I wouldn't get any work done. But you can see how long things take to get done. And that's why I don't want this customer to have to wait anymore. Have Carrie remove the back plate and then the front screws where the connectors and then the plastic top where the fans are will come off. Remove the back plate, then the front screws where the connectors. It doesn't really make any sense to what I'm seeing. Nothing on this back plate appears to be holding the shroud in. It may be, for me to remove the circuit board, I have to remove these screws or these screws to separate the heatsink from the Yeah, I really was hoping this wasn't going to be that involved, and it's really making me nervous to dig in any deeper, to be honest. It's just too much money. I think the customer's going to have to wait. It's unfortunate. I don't want the customer to. I would like to get it done and out to the customer today, but that's not going to happen. So I think we're just going to put this back together. I'm not up for it. Sorry, guys. This is not my specialty. I don't have experience at this level to deal with parts like this. And I don't want my customer to be my guinea pig. I don't think that's cool. I wouldn't want to be. If I was the customer, I would not want to be the first one. Not unless I was being supervised by somebody who could guide me. Like if the EVGA guy was here and he was like, do this, do this. I think it's going to have to go RMA. And we could cross ship it. It costs a little extra money to cross ship, and that's where EVGA sends us a card, charges us for it with a credit card, and then when they get this card, they refund the charge so that there's no cost in the end. But they've got to protect themselves to make sure that they get that they don't get ripped off. Yeah, I just don't like the idea of having to disassemble this card much further, because at some point I'm going to forget how to put it back together. There's a lot of screws here. There's a lot of mistakes that can be made along the way. This card isn't $1,000 or whatever the cost is because it's easy. You can see that there's about 20 some odd screws I've removed, and the complexity of it is well beyond the tools I have and the experience I have. And I hate to rush something through and not have it done right. I'd rather the customer had to wait longer and got a product that they were happy with for many, many years without any problems. I was hoping I could just remove that plastic shroud. We'd been done by now, honestly. If that last screw was accessible, I think if that was one little thing EVGA could do to make a big difference in the design of their cards, is to make that shroud removable. Easily removable. This would have been done already. I'd already had it done. All this because of a loose cable. It just seems ridiculous to me. And I'm you know, upset from an engineering standpoint that so much thought has gone into this and so little thought went into running that cable. I suppose there's reasons why they don't want to run that current across the circuit board. Probably creates noise so that they could avoid having a cable altogether. Or maybe they do it for some other reason that I can't possibly imagine. I would personally prefer to see the card to see the wires as part of the circuit board rather than running wires like they did. I just don't understand it, but it's not what I do for a living, so who am I? Who am I to say what the engineers did is right or wrong? It's just in looking at other electronics, in my history with electronics, a long history of electronics, this doesn't make sense to me. These are not going in straight. So there's a certain amount of patience that's required. Certain types of tools are better than others. And of course, there's no replacement for experience, you know. Experience is just, it can make all the difference in the world. Somebody with experience could probably look at this and go, yeah, all I got to do is do this, do this, do this, and make it look real easy. I need to loosen these up because it feels like this needs to be shoved over just a little bit. I mean, I'm even struggling just a little bit just to get these little screws back in. I didn't even take it that far apart. It's already giving me trouble. So everybody's got different comfort levels. I'm exceeding my comfort level with this. Like I said, this wasn't what I was prepared for. I was prepared to simply remove the plastic shroud. Looked like it would be easy enough from my, from looking at it. Looked pretty straightforward. And then when I get into it, go, oh, nope, that's not going to work. So we'll just send it back to EVGA, let them fix it. It's unfortunate that it's happened, but at least when we get it back, we know that with confidence there won't be any problems. But I'm a little bummed out. I was really hoping, you know, there's another system behind me. That guy's been waiting for his system. I can't be doing this and that and finishing this one and answering the phone and doing the laptop repair that I've got also going on with just one of me. So it does stress me out a little bit. And I just have to take things one thing at a time, and unfortunately people have to be patient. The good news is at least they know it's me working on it. I could hire somebody to help me, but then you wouldn't have the same quality control until I had that person trained, and training that person would then take me away from getting more work done. So around the wheel goes, as they say. Okay, this is all in now. My minions like bananas, ooh na na. Oh, sorry. Can't get that song out of my head. That is crazy. Absolutely crazy. A glue gun is a good investment. I have several glue guns, but I would never do that to a $1,000 video card. This customer's paid too much only to have the glue melt when the heatsink gets warm when he's gaming, and then the fan falls into the cable falls into the fan, and then it stays there because then the glue dries, and then he's in a worse situation than he. So again, you guys want to use a hot melt glue gun on your own stuff, you go right ahead. But if you're going to do that as a means of repair for a professional business, you probably won't be in business very long. There's definitely a sign of an amateur versus a professional, is the shortcuts that people will take with their own equipment. I've seen professional businesses take shortcuts too, but none of those businesses that I'm aware of still exist anymore. It's hard enough when you do everything right. You know, my buddy Troy over at SPSI that I mentioned earlier, probably one of the best laptop repair guys I've ever met in my life. And if he's out of business, it's not because he did anything wrong. It's just perhaps just a very difficult business to maintain. Sometimes it's hard to be sustainable even when you do everything right. The biggest problem most businesses have is just finding customers, or the customers finding you, as the case may be. Yeah, there's just no way I can get that cable in there. You know, I do see a screw that seems to be holding on the fan. If I could pull that out, that may be all I need. There's 1, 2, looks like 3 screws. But I'm afraid I could damage the blades of the fan. Let's just see. I wonder if it's possible that the fan was put on incorrectly. In other words, if I rotate the fan, maybe that would take up the slack on the cable. Anything's possible at this point. There it is. And there's our cable. This will give you a much better view now of what's going on. Okay, so here, oops, I gotta switch to a different view, guys, so I can, I gotta get these glasses off. All right, so here's our fan, and by taking the fan off, see if I can get you a good angle. Can you see the cable? See, that looks like one big heat sink to me. That doesn't look like two. And this is the cable right here that's getting in the way. That's what's falling into the fan. Trying to see if the camera will autofocus. Just give it a minute. Between my angles, let's see if I just cover the camera up. Ah, there we go. Now we're in focus. So yeah, now we should be able to see this cable much better. And so that's a little channel that that cable fits down inside of right there. And it's falling out of that channel. So that is what I am dealing with. Let's see if we can figure out a solution. Yeah, I'm a little upset about that design. But it might be enough for me to get in there and fix this cable, maybe. Or maybe not. It's there doesn't seem to be anything to keep it down into the channel. I can pull on the cable, tighten it up. What I'm hoping is then maybe when the cable is taut, I can rotate the fan into a different position where the cable will be tight. Nope, that's not working. Yeah, the space between them is too far. That fan's only going to go back on in the same place it came off because the cable won't reach the other mounting holes. And then when I put it in there, the cable then buckles again, and I see the cable sticking right back out again, just like it was. You'd think they'd have like a metal lip or something over this gap just to keep the cable from falling through. There's just nothing that prevents that from occurring. It's just a bad design. I mean, they could have designed the circuit board so that power was coming from the front so that the cable would be a short cable. Why they've got to run the power? Obviously, they're bringing power in right over here. This is where your power connectors are going in. But I still don't understand why they couldn't, I don't know, run the cable along the outside or keep it away from the heat sink for obvious reasons. And I've never noticed this on cards. I don't know how long they've been doing this with cards like this, if this is unique to this one or if they've all been designed that way. I couldn't tell you. I do know that it doesn't really make sense. It's just, there's no way to secure the wire in a fashion that would prevent it from falling into the fan. What a bummer. Yeah, it's going to have to go back to EVGA. There's just nothing I can do about it. I'm just surprised. I'm just really surprised that something that simple would be a problem with something so complicated. And that it would be this complicated to address. But that's what warranties are for, right? I mean, that's the whole reason why you get those warranties. So that you don't have to deal with it. You just send it back, let the manufacturer deal with it. I'm so bummed out. I mean, that cable just naturally buckles. When I push down on it on this side, then this side pops up. All right, well, at least I know now when I send it in for RMA that I tried. I will, otherwise I would wonder what if for a long time. So at least now I know. I'm not happy about it. Yeah, it hasn't made one bit of difference. All right, well, there you have it. Somebody's saying super glue is temp resistant. Not in Arizona. Super glue will last you about 3 to 6 weeks, and then it dries, it cracks, and it's done. Gorilla Glue's a little better, but Gorilla Glue foams up when it dries. So this is all just sort of ghetto fixes. I'm not doing a ghetto fix for a customer paying this kind of money, guys. You guys can do that. I'm not going to do it. Your heart may be in the right place, but you don't seem to understand. You're suggesting that I cut a corner with a customer. I'm not going to do it. You guys can cut your own corners. Okay, well, if anybody has any questions, now will be the time to ask. I'm going to wrap this up here pretty soon, so if anybody has any quick tech questions, I would be happy to address them right now before I wrap things up. Oh, did somebody contribute to the page? I've had my head down so long looking at that video card, I haven't really paid attention to what's going on. Josh Purser has contributed $5 to the page. He says, what are your thoughts on the prices of GPU and RAM prices tripling? Well, I mean, it sucks, right? The good news is I don't need any RAM or video cards. The price of things fluctuates. It's not permanent, and patience will pay off. And for those who can't wait, they'll pay a little bit more. But that's always been the case in the world we live in. You know, people who want the latest iPhone or whatever always pay more than people who wait, you know, for some time to pass, and then the value goes down. And especially if something newer comes out, then the newer thing is the thing everybody wants now, and then the thing it replaced nobody wants anymore, and the price drops, and it's easy to get. So it's just the nature of the market, and it's just temporary. Thank you for your contribution. Will I be completing this build series? I hope so. I bet my customer hopes so. Will they be sending you a refurbished card? I have no idea. It won't matter. It won't make a difference. They'll send me a working card with a full warranty. Boxes that parts come in in America, you don't have to have the box. That's just not legal. A warranty has nothing to do with your box. A warranty has to do with the product itself, and that when you ship it back, that you ship it according to the manufacturer's instructions with regards to packing material and how much packing. The box itself, if you have it, it makes that a little easier to conform to what the manufacturer requires, but it's not a warranty determination as to whether or not you kept the box. Never, not in America. Some people ask questions about thermal compound. All thermal compounds are essentially the same with regards to cooling effectiveness, and you can test that out yourself. There's a lot of videos and articles online that suggest otherwise, but the actual truth is if you actually try different thermal compounds and measure the difference in temperature, you are not likely to see more than 3 degrees Celsius from the very most expensive thermal compound to the very cheapest thermal compound. And I don't expect you to believe me. I encourage you to test it for yourself. What fans do you recommend that are quiet? Noctua. Noctua. Somebody's made a bizarre comment. They don't want to test, they want reliability. You can't have reliability without testing. I don't want to learn how to walk. I only want to run. That's basically what you just said. Kathleen says, I enjoyed the stream, even though you weren't able to get the problem resolved. Well, that's nice. Thank you, Kathleen. I'm disappointed. I honestly wouldn't have started the stream if I didn't think it was something I could have easily fixed. But that's not to say I can't fix it. I'm just not willing to take that risk. It's just too much money. And I don't want my customer, once again, I don't want my customer to be a guinea pig on my first ever complete GeForce 1080 disassembly and reassembly. Yeah, as Paul is saying in the chat room, better safe than sorry. Absolutely. John Heckman said, Carrie, it's always a pleasure. I started recently watching your build videos, found you through your Newegg build video. Appreciate all you do. Look forward to watching more builds by you. Thank you, John. Who are some of your favorite YouTube channels? My favorite YouTube channel right now is Liza Koshy. She is absolutely my favorite. And Bob Barnes says, I was entertained by your stream. Thank you, Bob. Saul says, greetings from Portugal, Lisbon. Greetings, Saul. Oh, yes, I'm fully aware I can watch a YouTube video showing somebody breaking one of these down, but I'm not going to be doing that during a live stream. And like I said, and I've done that for other things, but in this case, I think it needs to go back to EVGA. I think it's just the right thing to do. Do I have a wife? Yes, I have a wife, and it's her birthday today, which is why I have to start wrapping this up. She'll be home from work soon. Congrats on a birthday. Okay. What happens if the RMA results in the same problem? That's highly unlikely, but I would just send it back for another RMA. So, all under warranty. Send it back as many times as you need to. And EVGA is paying for the shipping both ways, so there's no cost other than time. You guys saying happy birthday to my wife, that's very nice, but she doesn't watch this stuff and she's not around and she can't see it. So you might as well be shouting it to an empty room. It's nice of you to say, but it's falling on deaf ears as far as that goes. What do I do with all the old parts? Parts that are not usable anymore, they go to a buddy of mine who strips them down for their metals. I just give it to him. We're both happy because I'm giving him my garbage and he's like, oh my God, thank you so much. And I'm like, really? Thank you for getting rid of my garbage. So it's a nice reciprocal relationship. We're supposed to be going out tomorrow for her birthday with some friends, so I don't know what we're going to do tonight. Will we expect a review on Yelp? I only leave Yelp reviews on restaurants that are extraordinarily great or extraordinarily bad. So it's pretty rare that I leave a Yelp review because most restaurants hit that middle point where they sort of meet expectations for price and atmosphere and food quality. It's only when they go way above and beyond or fall way, way short of what's, reasonably expected that I would go out of my way to take the time to write a review about it. What is my favorite burger joint? That's a bizarre question. We have a restaurant out here called Burger Rehab Therapy. I think that's probably my favorite one. James Liebig says, can't thank you enough for all the free knowledge. You're the man. Well, thank you. Thanks, James. Ben DeCour says, have a good day. Hopefully we'll see you next stream. I hope so, Ben. Hope you'll join me back on the next live stream. What is your favorite pizza joint? Out here we have Grimaldi's is really good. Piazza Al Forno is good. Malnati's is good. Do you like Carl's Jr.? No. Carl's Jr. and Jack in the Box make me sick. I can't eat there. I used to eat there when I was a kid. My first job was Jack in the Box. Way, way back in the 80s. It was the very first job I ever got. Do you like McDonald's? Oh yeah, McDonald's is good. Live streams happen when time permits. That's all I can say. Nothing is scheduled. It's just as time permits. I'm a 58-year-old PC building hobbyist. I built 12 PCs over the last 7 years. I found your channel a couple months ago. Thank you for the videos and info. Thought I had it down. I do now. Very good. Well, thank you, Zellar1. Thanks for sharing your story. Bill, other than once in a while, I'll be taking a photo of the meal and adding it to Facebook. We've done that for some things we've cooked. We've taken photos once in a while. We try not to be that. Try not to be that guy, you know. Does the government call you to fix their computers? No, because if they'd only need to call me once, then they'd be fixed. They wouldn't need to call me anymore. So. One of the issues with the government is they have certain policies and procedures and regulations that are just beyond backwards. And they exist mostly to protect people's egos. And so long as the government is run by egos, nothing gets done effectively, nothing gets done efficiently, nothing gets done cheaply. When you hear about the government paying $1,000 for a toilet seat, trust me, if you made toilet seats, you charge them $1,000 too when you see what they have to put you through. There's a good example of this. You could probably YouTube. There's a video of Al Gore talking to David Letterman, and he's explaining what some of the bureaucracy is like in the government. And he says, like, for them to order ashtrays, they have to drop the ashtray from, I think it's 3 feet onto a concrete surface, and it cannot break into more than 7 pieces. If it does, they can't buy that ashtray anymore. So you got to wonder who sat down and wrote these rules. What was the logic? It just doesn't make any sense. And it's this kind of thing that goes on in government that makes working for government very discouraging for me, because I'm the kind of guy, I like to get things done. And when I covered the DEF CON convention, the hacker convention in Las Vegas, I was talking with FBI and CIA recruiters. And that was my main question for them, because I started as a hacker. And I said, look, hackers don't like rules. How can you guys come here looking to recruit hackers, the best of the best here at DEF CON, knowing that these are guys that like to just cut it loose and do what needs to be done? They like to just do things that shouldn't even be possible. And the government likes structure, and they like to protect ego. And I mean, this is actually an interview. You can go back and look it up. It's not on YouTube, but it was on a radio show I was doing. And the guy says, no, for the hacking division, for our counterterrorism, I forget what he called it, something with IT and counterterrorism. He said the different set of rules apply there. I go, the fact that there's any rules at all is a turnoff to any real hacker. A hacker says, somebody just hacked me, I'm going to hack them back. They don't think about what the rules are. They think about whatever it is they can get away with doing. What's possible? How can I shut them down by any means necessary? That's how a hacker works. That's how I got into computers. I got into computers by figuring out ways to get things done that were against the rules. And in a professional business, you can't do that. But as a teenager messing around with computers, you could do whatever you wanted. It was, basically victimless crime, the kind of stuff I was doing. And I would be surprised if any other journalist had asked the FBI and CIA recruiters these types of questions, because I've got the experience of working in government, and I've got the experience of being a hacker, and I know what it's like on both sides of that fence. And it just seems like these are two groups of people that just aren't going to get along. So Rusty Shackelford says, I could see Kerry being the next Kevin Mitnick. Kevin Mitnick isn't a hacker, and it upsets a lot of hackers if you make that suggestion. Kevin Mitnick was a social engineer. What Kevin Mitnick did wasn't anything involving any programming. It wasn't involving any hacks of computers. It was hacking people. He'd say, for example, he'd call the telephone company and say, I'm a lineman, I'm out on a pole, I need you to activate, box 85 and give me access to it. And the person, because he sounded so confident, he knew all the right words, they didn't question his identity, and they just activated what he wanted them to activate. So in the sense, Kevin Mitnick was a human hacker. I got to meet Kevin Mitnick at Name Dropper. I got to meet Kevin Mitnick at DEF CON one year, and I was absolutely thrilled to meet him. I'm a fanboy of Kevin Mitnick. I think the guy's genius. But he's not a hacker in the sense, like, if you go to a real hacker and you go, oh, I just met hacker Kevin Mitnick, they'll smack you. Not literally. But they'll be like, obviously, you don't know what a hacker is. Goodbye. There's a snobbishness and a pride to hackers. And I'm sure Kevin has to deal with it constantly. I'm sure he never hears the end of it. He's a neat guy, though, and it's neat that he shares his knowledge, and it's very clever what he was doing. But he wasn't hacking in the sense, he wasn't hacking computers. He was hacking people, and there's a difference. In a way, I'd say hacking people takes more guts, because when you're face to face with somebody, they know who you are. They can see you, they can hear you, they can identify you. When you're just some random bits of data flying across the internet, anybody can do that. It doesn't require any bravery. Can we upload pics of our builds to you? I would love that very much. Videos, pictures of your builds. There's a Facebook fan page just for that. If you just go to Facebook and type in Kerry Holzman's YouTube fan page on Facebook, join in on the fun. Post your pictures. I'd love to put a video together showing everybody's builds off in the future. El Montemore says, that's not hacking people, that's being a con man. Yeah, absolutely it's being a con man. But it's being a con man in a different way. It's not like he's selling something that's not what it appears to be. It's not like a used car salesman trying to get rid of some junky car, making it out to be more than it is. But he's absolutely a con man. That's certainly one way of looking at it. Yes, couldn't disagree with that. I just think more of a con man is somebody who rips people off. Kevin Mitnick wasn't dealing with individuals like you and me. He was dealing with big corporations. And I don't know why in my mind that makes it a little better, but it does. Orlando Brev has contributed $10. He says, keep up the good work. I'm learning a lot from your videos. Thank you, Orlando. Thanks for your contribution. Are you familiar with Captain Crunch? Well, of course, Captain Crunch, so look, guys, I've been in the business a long time, and you can go back to stuff like the 2600 magazine and Captain Crunch and the whistle and payphones, and that's how Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak got started. If you're interested in that sort of thing, there's all kinds of documentaries you can watch on YouTube and other places online, and it's fascinating stuff. But basically what it amounted to was this guy figured out that a toy whistle that came in a box of Captain Crunch cereal, was the exact tone needed for the phone company when you drop a quarter or a dime into the coin slot of a payphone. It sent these tones. And he could replicate those tones with this free whistle. And he figured that out and he made it public and he called himself Captain Crunch. It's a very fascinating story, especially just the technology of how simplistic and how payphones worked. Is your view on computers used for mining? I don't care what people use their computers for. It makes no difference to me. Some people use their computers for pornography, and some people use their computers to design spacecraft, and some people use their computers to mine cryptocurrency. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me what people use their computers for. Well, you build an AMD Threadripper. I build whatever customers order. So if a customer orders a Threadripper, I'll be building one. If you want to order one from me, that'd be great. I'd be happy to build it for you. Somebody's got to pay for it, though. Well, if you live in Belgium, I can't ship it to you. Sorry. Can only ship within the continental United States. Were you ever at Geek Squad? I got hired at Best Buy back around 1992, 93. And they had just opened their first Phoenix location. And they decided, it was funny, I applied for a computer technician job. And when they interviewed me, they said, we don't have a position for a computer technician. Why did you fill out a resume for a position we don't have? And I said, well, it's under my understanding you're like a Circuit City kind of thing where you sell electronics, you sell computers, and if you're going to sell computers, you're going to need a tech. So that's why I sent in my resume. And it was these two people that were interviewing, and they kind of looked at each other and smiled, and they said, yeah, we actually are going to start a technical service, because we are going to be selling computers. We do sell computers. How fast can you turn a computer around? I said 24 hours. And they looked at each other and they said, look, this store is going to be the flagship store for the entire Phoenix area. They'll be the biggest, baddest store in the entire Phoenix area. So given that, what do you think your turnaround time will be? I said, look, some computers take more than 24 hours, but if you're asking me what my average is, the average is 24 hours. I said, I don't think you're understanding the scope of how big this is, but we'll come back to that. When I got the job, they had no policies, they had no procedures. They had no instructions, they had no tools, they had no spare parts, they had no guidance, they had no training. They go, they said, we don't know what we're doing, so we're counting on you to figure this out. And they sent me to Houston along with some other people in the technical departments of the other Best Buys they were opening. And we went to Houston to be trained how to use the computer system, to learn about electrostatic discharge. And we were being taught by a guy from India and a guy from, I don't know, China, Asia, somewhere. And they had very thick accents and were difficult to understand. And I was like, wow, only in America could these people communicate with each other, because neither one of them were speaking their native language. And I couldn't understand either one of them, but they could understand each other just fine. It was a kind of a culture shock. Houston, if you've never been to Houston, it's very, very humid. And Caucasian males like me are a minority in Houston. There's a lot of minorities in Houston. And I didn't know that. I just thought it was Texas, a bunch of people walking around with cowboy hats. I'm just stereotyping everything across the board. And so the techs all got together after the training session and decided we were going to go to a strip club. And I don't know, we were somewhere in Houston. We went into the strip club. It was empty. And we sat around a table. We started talking tech. And this girl gets on stage and she's dancing and nobody's paying attention to her. We're talking about computers. And this girl's getting upset that, there's this group of guys sitting around this table who won't even look at her. So she starts doing jumping jacks to get our attention. And, nerds. Just a bunch of nerds. Oh, God, that was funny. It's true. I swear it's a true story. Hi, Carrie. This is Alaya and Alora. James Liebig's daughter. We love you. I am 9 years old. My mom is using her Manatee right now. Oh, very cool. I hope she likes it. What do you think of the F-35 program? They shake the roof of my house constantly. But hey, that's the sound of freedom, so I don't complain. What do you think of MSG computers? I don't know what that is. All right, I got about 3 minutes left, guys. Someone's asking about MSI. If you know my channel, you know I don't work with MSI at all. I found that their support is greatly lacking, and I almost lost my business because of MSI's lack of support. So I won't use MSI products for my business. Did you hear about the meteorite in Taylor, Michigan? Nope, no, I haven't heard about that. Gunnar in Norway says he loves watching the stream. I'm just waiting for a tech question to answer. I haven't seen any yet. People are talking about food, and people are talking about news, and people are talking about anything but tech. Kind of weird. Might need to change my channel to something other than tech. hoping to see more Subaru videos. I've got a bunch of videos filmed, I just haven't gotten around to editing them yet. Still looking for a good editor, looking for somebody who knows how to edit, who's got some experience editing, knows how to use the editing software, and is local to the Phoenix area. So if you know somebody like that, please send me a message on YouTube. And by the way, if you send me a message on, private message on YouTube, make sure that you have the ability to accept messages. A lot of people turn that off, and I have no way to respond to you. So a lot of people say, oh, I sent him a message, but he didn't respond back. Well, that's because you've got messaging turned off. You've got to go into your settings. Or just contact me through Facebook, do it that way. If you can't figure out how to use YouTube, that's fine. Carrie, I'm still looking for Mystery Build Part 2. The Mystery Build is owned by an artist, and when the artist is done with the case, then I will be able to continue. But I'm still waiting on it too. The artist will get to it when the artist gets to it, or finishes it. I don't know what the status is. All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. Thanks again so much for watching. I'm sorry I didn't have a better outcome to this stream, but at least I know with confidence that this card will be going back to EVGA, so I guess I'll be going over to the UPS store and dropping this off. EVGA did pay for shipping back to them. They've sent us a prepaid shipping label. They're first class all the way. As you can see from the unscripted phone support call that you've overheard, to me, this is worth paying a little extra money. Never had that experience with MSI. If I did, I'd use them. I would love to do a side-by-side comparison one day to try and see if I could get MSI on the line for support, and then to first of all be able to understand them, how long I would be on hold, and how cooperative they would be. Because in the past, they were hard to get a hold of, hard to understand when I could get a hold of them, and I'm very uncooperative. So I would love to put those two side by side and put an end to this question once and for all, make a video out of it. And when someone asks me about MSI, I can point them to the video. On the other hand, if MSI shines through, it would change my attitude about them. But that may be something for me to pursue in the future. Anyway, thanks again for tuning in. Thanks for the contributions and support. I will see you all again very, very soon. Until then, bye for now.